All right, welcome into the Tool Shed Live. We've actually changed the name from EV Facebook Live. We didn't think that was a real great name. It's kind of like a copy of other people that do shows like this. But this is the Tool Shed Live. I'm Warren Seegers, and every Thursday we always come to you live on Facebook, and we talk about home improvement things, lawn and garden. Last week we were talking about insurance, not insurance, but mortgages for homes. And the week before that, we were talking about exterior, like landscaping things. And with me today, I have Joe Rager, who is the owner of J&R's Lawn Service. How you doing, Joe?
I'm good.
Tell me a little bit about yourself and about your company.
All right, I'll give you the quick version. Back in 2009, in the downturn, my wife and I both lost long-term jobs, and this is something we wanted to do when we retired, and so we were kind of thrown into it a little early, and we started out just with our own equipment in our own neighborhood. We didn't even have a trailer to pull equipment, so we walked the neighborhood and handed out flyers and gave estimates, and all we could do was work in the neighborhood until the business got big enough we could buy a trailer, and then we could get better equipment and then move out of the neighborhood, and then it just went from there. And word of mouth was really how we become where we are today.
So that's kind of amazing. So you literally did you have a push mower or a riding mower? What were you using?
I had just a riding mower. It was just a Sears Craftsman mower. I had a weed eater from Walmart and a blower from Walmart, and so I had a pickup truck, so I'd put all the weed eaters and stuff in the back of the pickup truck, but I couldn't put the mower in there. So I'd drive the tractor to the house, walk back home and get the truck and drive it to the home, cut that yard, and then drive to the next house, come back, get the truck, drive it over, and at the end of the day, drive the tractor home, go back and get my truck. So yeah, it was that way for a while, and of course, we didn't know if the business would take off or not. Well, we passed out about 500 flyers, and we went home, set the telephone on the table, and just stared at it till it rang.
It was like watching grass grow, right?
Next thing you know, boom, we're getting calls left and right, and the business took off. And then once we was able to get be able to get out of the neighborhood, then it really took off. A lot of word of mouth. We did a lot of. We sort of started out we wanted it to be more than just a lawn business. We wanted it to be a ministry.
Okay.
We're Christians, and we love the Lord, and we want to do what the Lord wants us to do. And so we thought, not just cut somebody's grass, we want to be able to help somebody. And
right.
The Lord has really opened a lot of doors, allowed us to pray with a lot of people. And we've had some people that I remember the first lady that we got. She come to me one day and said, Joe, I'm not going to be able to let you cut my grass anymore. And I was like, did we do something, And she said, no. She said, I just lost my job. I got laid off, and I can't afford it.
Right.
And I said, well, you know what? I said, you gave me a job when I needed a job, so I'm going to continue to cut for you. And when you get a job and you can pay, then you can pay. But until then, I'm just going to cut it for nothing.
Wow.
Well, she just started bawling. And, of course, how many people do you think she told?
A lot.
So it, just that's the way the Lord just kind of moved this thing,
right? And
it's just really opened up from there. It's been wonderful. Yeah.
Wow, that's amazing. That's the American dream right there. When you start mowing lawns, like what was that movie, the Lawn Boy or something? The guy that was on, can't remember it. My wife calls him Dr. McDreamy, but he was on a doctor show. But he was basically a kid with a lawnmower.
Yeah.
But I mean, you kind of started. I mean.
Exactly.
Like a kid would do lawn mowings. You just start it in house to house until it grew, and now you're making a full-time living off of this.
That's right. And this is our 10th year. Unbelievable.
Wow.
That just went by that fast.
That is amazing. So how was business this year?
It's great. And, of course, business is still going. With this last 4 or 5 days of rain, it's really greened things back up for us, which is good. We want to work as long into the season as we can. But it's been a good year. I've been sort of by myself this year. I have a couple part-timers that help me from time to time, but for the most part, it's been just me this year, and keeps me going.
Nice. So let's talk about, because I know what everybody's waiting to hear from us is, how do I make my yard look professional? Where do people even start? How do you make your yard just look like that pristine cut? What would you tell someone what you really got to pay attention to?
Yeah, you have to really take ownership of your yard. don't let somebody come in and tell you what to do. Like, you have people that come in that want to fertilize for you and kill the weeds and the grubs, and they want you to water it to death because they want to come back and give you another application in a couple months. But you have to take care of that lawn yourself. Overwatering your lawn is not good. Once your yard becomes saturated and it becomes soft, then when you cut, you're basically pushing the grass down because the mower's pushing it down because of the soft ground. And so turn those sprinklers off and turn that water off and let that ground firm up again, because when the ground's firm, then the grass stands up, and when you mow, you get a clean cut mow. So
that's interesting. So what you're saying is watering every day may not be the best thing for your lawn, and that's what makes it look kind of...
Even in a drought, when you just watering it every day is not going to make that grass come back when you're in a drought. It's just not going to do it. You have to really pay attention to what you're doing, and if you water it at the right times and the right days, you can have a beautiful lawn all summer long.
Wow!
Because they do it. But there's so much out there that it's overwatered. I have customers. I have to say, hey, could you turn your sprinklers off for a few weeks, because I can't get your yard cut the way it should.
Well, you're saving people money already. We're probably watering and spending too much money on watering your yard. How often do you think would be a good?
I would say, if it was every other day in a real dry time, in the springtime, you probably don't. Even though they come and turn your sprinklers on for you and they get it all set and timed out for you, you need to learn how to work that so that you can turn it off and back on. But you won't even need to. We get so much rain in the spring, and we get heavy dews, and the same thing in the fall. When it gets to the fall of the year, like where we are now, we're getting quite a bit of rain. We also get plenty of heavy dew in the morning, and you get a lot of water on that lawn. And when you start throwing the sprinklers to it, it just overdoes it so many times.
Now, so I guess, if you just go out and look at your lawn, you can tell if it's oversaturated.
Oh, yeah, walk on it.
You can walk it, and when it gets that spongy feel, or you can poke your finger in it, that's
exactly.
a little bit too much water.
Just too much water. Cut it off. And give it a couple of days, and when you'll know when it starts firming up. You'll be able to walk on it a little more solid. And if you're cutting your own, you'll find out the cut's much nicer because it's more solid ground. Grass stands up straighter.
Right.
You cut it off easier. So
here's the question I have, and I'm sure a lot of people out there that are watching want to know: how do I get that nice, that super cool looking crisscross pattern that I see at Wrigley Field?
Yeah, well, those are the secrets of the trade. I can't tell you that. No, I'm just kidding.
Okay, well, thank you.
No, there's, it's just one of the things I do is that when I cut someone's lawn, I try and cut in different directions because you want your lawn to be pushed down in all these different directions. It's kind of silly to say, you take one blade of grass and you keep pushing it down the same way. You're just not really cutting that yard. But when you put all the grass together, you're not really cutting that yard the way it needs to be. So cut it in different directions. But one way to get that nice look, and you can make it a professional look yourself. What I do is, and we don't bag. The clippings go on the ground, but you can drive by these homes and say they look like hay fields. That's not any of our lawns.
Okay.
Because we cut the grass, and don't cut it down to the ground. Just don't cut the green off of it. But give a nice cut, and then raise your deck up on your mower. Raise it up and take a different direction. It'll give you that nice pristine cross or check or whatever you want on your lawn, and you're going to basically have a giant blower that you're going over a second time on this lawn, and it's going to get rid of the clippings, and there's nothing left, and that's really good for your lawn as well. Wrigley Field, that's a special tool that they can put on their mowers that actually stripe the yard.
Really?
Yeah, so you're not going to get that look. Yeah, exactly.
So all these years, all of us guys go to Wrigley Field and we see that perfect...
Man, I wish I could put that design in my yard. Yeah.
I'm out there with my lawnmower thinking, maybe I don't have enough weight in the back of it to make the lines.
Now,
it's actually a special machine.
Every mower, doesn't matter which one it is, whether you're using a Toro or an X-Mark or whatever the mower you might be using, a Cub Cadet or Husqvarna, they all have their own look when you cut.
Okay.
So they'll have their own striping, natural striping for your yard. So depending on what John Deere's or not, depends on what look you want.
So there's a ballistics method to it too. You look at the grass and go, that was done by a Toro. Kubota.
Well, if you're just doing your own lawn, you're probably not going to come to that conclusion.
Right.
But guys that are out there mowing, they can go by and tell you. I can tell you where a John Deere's been and where a Toro's been and where a Exmark's been. So
now when you mow, do you spend a lot of money on your blades where you get the mulching blades?
I do get mulching blades. I get they're called a gator blade. It's the ones I use. And the key to really doing a good job for someone is to keep those blades sharp. So, you think about when you're cutting your own grass, you may cut, you're going to cut once a week for 4 weeks for 7 months, where I'm going to cut 30 times a day.
Right, okay.
For 5 days or 6 days, so those blades have to be. Your blades at home, you might get by with sharpening them maybe once a year. Where on our job, we're going to have to sharpen those blades once a week, every other day, depending on how many lawns you're going to do, as to how often you need to sharpen those blades. But you got to keep them sharp.
So sharpening the blades is important then?
Absolutely.
And if you don't sharpen your blades, what does that do to the grass?
Well, when it's dull, you'll find out that the cut just didn't seem so smooth. Okay. And you find yourself going over it again and going over it again. Well, sharpen them blades.
Okay.
Yeah, because when sharp blades are just going to cut that stuff right off like it needs to be first time around.
And a dull blade, you're just beating it off, basically.
Yeah, it's just like gnawing it off. Yeah, right. Yeah, exactly.
I know one time when I was quite a bit younger and I never sharpened my blades and had a push mower, and I noticed that my yard, it was on the top of grass, it'd be kind of jagged looking, and it had just brown on the very edge of it.
Kind of like you splintered it.
Yeah, and my neighbor said, if you sharpened your blades, you wouldn't have that problem. And you know what? He was right.
There's a way for people to make their yard look professionally done if they want to spend the time. And I think that's the big deal. Everybody is so busy today. Yeah. Their kids are in sports. They got these travel teams. They're out of town, and they just don't have 2 or 3, 4 hours to spend on a Saturday getting that lawn right, or on a Friday night. The game, they want to be at the game. They want to, and I understand all that. But that's how it keeps a guy like me and others in business. But sometimes they say, I would love to have a professional come in and do it, but I just can't afford it. Mm-hmm. Well, let's talk about that for a minute.
Okay.
All right.
Yeah. So here's the thing. Sell me on having you come and mow my lawn. Why would I pay someone to mow my lawn?
All right. So you're a school teacher.
Yeah.
Right? And in the military. And so what's your time worth? If you broke it down in an hour, what would your time be worth an hour?
Maybe $35 an hour.
$35 an hour. All right. So you're going to spend 3 or 4 hours on your lawn getting it edged and trimmed and cut and getting that nice look on it that you want, that professionals can do for you. And so you get all that done. Let's say it takes 3 or 4 hours. How much is that? That's $140 of your time that you spent on your lawn, when your lawn could, let's say it's an average lawn, can be done for $40.
Oh, wow.
All right, so you're going to save money, you're going to save time, and you're going to get that professional look because we're going to come in there and give it to you.
And it's probably a little bit more dependable than my boys that when they're supposed to mow lawn. It's yeesh.
Yeah,
it's
exactly.
Boys, lawn needs mowed this week. It's a paying job here at the house. 2 days go by, 3 days go by, and then by Friday, Saturday, I'm on the mower and I'm doing it.
Exactly. Now, how do you know which company to get? There's one on every corner.
You're right, exactly.
And so, how do you know? One thing is just ask the right questions. All right, let's say I give you an estimate on your lawn that we could do it for $40, and somebody else comes along and says they'll do it for $25, and you go, hey, I'm going to save some money. I'll take that $25. Right. And you find out that they don't edge, they don't trim, and so you say, hey, do you guys edge? Oh yeah, that's a $25 charge for edging. And do you trim? Yeah, we trim, and that's that's another $15. And
wow,
you left all these clippings. Oh, you want that cleaned up? That's that's another charge.
So when they're charging, for a cut, they literally mean just cut the grass. Anything else?
That's what you want to find out. You want to find out what your money's going to get you.
Wow.
So for us, that $40 lawn includes weed eating, It includes edging your driveway and your sidewalks and the cleanup. So, so you think you're getting a good deal over here, but if you add it all up, you might be spending $75 to get a $40 lawn cut.
And you know, this might just be me personally, but I think what really makes a lawn look nice and neat and professional is the edging. Because, I mean, you see it all the time. You're driving down the road and you have the sidewalks, grass is growing into it, and then you have that one guy that just edges all that out. It's nice and boxed off. Is there any secret to doing that?
A good edger. I mean, you can purchase a good edger. Gas powered's the best, but and you can make that edge. Once you make that edge, if you learn how to use a weed eater, you can turn that up, and you can keep that edge. You don't have to just keep running the edger over that all the time. Your weed eater can keep that nice edge for you. So
once you get it set with an edger, then you can go back to the weed eater.
Sure.
About how many times do you think you can do that?
You can do it every time you cut.
Okay.
You know, every time you cut, just run along there. You'll see these guys. If you go by, these guys they're walking, and they're walking fast, and they got that weed eater turned up, and they're just running right down the line that's already there.
Wow.
Yeah, and if you once you learn how to handle the weed eaters, then you can make that happen.
Wow. So what about leaves? Kind of an interesting story on this, because I mean, you know, I'm in the military. We're actually neighbors, and every time I go away, my yard just looks horrible at the end. And I just want you to like confirm my suspicions. My wife never had the boys rake the leaves off of the lawn, so when I came home, I blew all of it off, and there was no grass. Leaves are bad for a lawn, aren't they?
They can be. If you stay on it in the beginning of the year, depending on what kind of leaves, you don't want oak leaves to fall on your ground. They're not good for your grass. But most of other leaves, you keep them mulched up. You know, and again, that's a good reason to have mulching blades, because if you stay on it and you mulch those blades and you mulch them up really fine, like the gator blades do, and that falls on your lawn, and it really is a protection for your lawn, and you can't go after it after the leaves are this deep on the ground.
Right.
But if you stay up on it when it first starts, yeah. And the same way with blowing. If you have a place to burn, or if you can blow them out to the curb, you want to blow them out as quick as you can. You don't want to turn that grass a different color.
Right.
But it will come back in the spring.
Now, is that something you offer? Because I would actually literally pay someone with the side of the yard I have to rake or blow my leaves, mulch them up, whatever. I don't care how you get rid of them. Is that...
If someone wants them hauled off because they don't have curb service or they have a place to burn, I can't really do that. I don't have the equipment to load it up in my truck and haul it off somewhere, and there's others that do. But if you just need it mulched, or you need it blown to a curb or blown to a burn area, yeah, absolutely.
Nice, nice. So patterns. I'm asking because of my unprofessional lawn mowing of my crabgrass infested yard. So I noticed, because I got a Kubota, which is a much heavier lawn tractor than your standard Sears tractor, but I wasn't really changing my pattern a lot, and I started, I don't know if it's in my mind, but I thought, I think I'm getting ruts in my yard.
Yeah.
So that's what I was doing then.
Yeah, absolutely. The heavier the equipment, the more that yard needs to be firm.
Okay.
Because you get on a wet yard with that heavy equipment, and if you're going to cut the same way every time, you're really going to
mess the yard up.
Yeah, you're going to put some ruts in there, and so you need to change directions every other time, or sometimes we change every time, but mostly every other time. But at the same time, if you've mowed in this pattern this time, if you move it over just outside of it, you can mow again in that way, but pretty soon you're going to run out of
hitting the same.
Pretty soon
ruts.
you will. You'll a couple mows and you'll be over to this next rut, and it'll be hard to get around.
Right. So when changing your patterns, what I kind of started doing this summer was just vertical horizontal switching. Is that enough, or should I be doing more of like angles to that also?
There's so many variations, because you can start out by going cross like this, and then you can start out by going the X like this,
right?
And then you can vary those angles any way that you want to. So instead of going directly at a diagonal this way, I can go at an angle this way. so or I can come across, and I could just angle it just a little. So
Right.
there's so many variations of that you really wouldn't run out of variations to put ruts in your yard.
And does that help flatten the ground out?
I don't know about flattening the ground. It can, especially with heavy equipment. It'll keep you from feeling like you're putting the ruts in there. If
Right.
you're going over the ground and it's starting to feel a
Right.
which is another part of lawn care, is that in the spring or in the fall, you can take a roller. You need to roll that yard.
Right.
Hook that to the back of your tractor and roll a heavy roller over there and help flatten that stuff down.
That's something I need to get, is a roller.
There you go.
Is there a time that's too early to cut?
Oh,
or
boy.
too late? I mean, when do you?
Yeah.
Because I hear these old timers are like, "Yep, mowing season's done." Well, yeah. Well, my grass is still growing. Are you sure that's right? I mean,
Yeah. A lot of people want to leave their grass really high for the winter. I'm not a big fan of that because the winter pushes that down and it kind of mats and it's kind of hard, spring back up in the spring. I don't cut it to the dirt, that's for sure.
Right.
But you want to cut it, keep the green on it as much as you can, but you can cut it fairly low in the fall for the end of the season. There's also applications of things you can put on your yard to help protect it for the winter. But in the spring, here, once the snow is off and once the weather is cleared up and you get that spring rain, that grass grows fast. And what you'll have to really be careful about is would be the ground being saturated and soft. You'd have to really be careful about you're starting to cut when it's too soft and you're just going to really put a rut in it to start with.
Wow.
So it's just take ownership of your own yard if that's what you're going to do. And if you don't have the time, then call someone like me and have me come out and give you an estimate and let us take care and let you get on with the other projects you got going.
Exactly. So I forgot we have this TV monitor up here now to my left. So we do have a question. It's from Ben, and he says, what do you recommend for edging material to prevent grass from working its way back into flower beds?
I'm not a landscaper, so that would be a landscaping question because they know all kind of edging materials that's out there, and I'm really not familiar with all of that. But again, if you learn to work that weed eater, you can keep that from getting into your by just staying close to the edge of what you got planted. But really, that's a landscaping question.
Right. So here's a question I have now: mowing etiquette. Does it matter if I'm blowing grass into the street or not? What is your feeling on that?
If your cleanup is good, you can't leave it in the street. You're going to have to do something with that. You can't just drive off. It looks horrible. That's my name on that lawn. And so I want it to be as clean as possible. We treat every lawn as if it was my own lawn. And so that's the way we approach them all. So your driveway, your sidewalks, when we're weed eating. If you're weed eating, there's one way you can run the weed eater that throws material this way, and there's one way you run the weed eater that throws material that way.
Right.
So you want to throw it away from the landscaping. So you want to weed eat that way that throws it away.
Okay.
Same thing when you're edging or whatever, and when you're taking the mower, throw it to the inside. Throw it to the inside back in the yard because you're going to go over that again and get rid of those clippings anyway.
Okay.
But make sure you clean up. Blow that stuff back in the yard and back up into wherever you're working.
So all you peeps out there that keep blowing your grass into the street and then leaving it, please blow it back into your yard.
It's ugly.
It's ugly and unsafe. Some people think it's unsafe. I don't know how, but
giving us lawn guys a bad name.
So that another part. So you got yards and they're right next to each other. What I tend to do is I will mow the first two strips going around the property. I blow that into the inside of the property so that I'm not blowing clippings on someone else's yard because I don't know what their tolerance level of clippage.
Yeah, sure, and that's a good way to do it. Outline that yard, and then once you my X mark is a 60-inch. So once I've made an outline, I got 5 feet to work with.
Oh, wow.
So then when you come up and you make a turn or whatever, and you've already got 5 feet already cut,
and you're not going into the other property and stuff like that. Okay.
And if we happen to throw clippings in the other yard, If it looks like it's high grass and somebody's called us to cut when they let it get out of hand,
right,
I'll go to the neighbor and I'll say, whatever we throw over here, we'll blow back.
Okay.
Just so that they know, and it's kind of a courtesy.
Right, right. So let me ask you this. What makes JR's lawn service different from everybody else? Why would I want to hire you over the next guy?
And that's a good question. It's going to be, if you do your due diligence of the quality of work. Our motto is, quality, friendly, dependable. Mm-hmm. And that's exactly what you're going to get. And here's something that we do that a lot of people don't do, especially in the residential areas. If your yard doesn't need it, we won't cut it.
Oh, okay.
So we're not going to cut your dirt, and we're not going to cut all the green off your grass just to make money. The Lord is really taking care of us in that respect. And so if we'll drive by, we'll be there every week. Uh-huh. That's our dependability. We're going to be there and check that lawn out.
Right.
And if it doesn't need it, we'll move on. And you can just put that money back in your pocket, and we'll come back the next week. And
that's funny that you say mow the dirt, because I've seen a few lawn companies that they're just making a mess out there, just blowing dust and dirt all over the place. It's like, man, there's not even grass growing there. Why are you hitting that?
And I've had customers who said, I want it cut.
Really?
And I've said, absolutely not, because I'm not going to lower my blade down so low that I start then scalping your ground. I'm just not going to do it.
And that can't be good for the blade.
I've had to turn a few people away because of that.
So I'm probably the worst mower in the world, because I will not, death before dismount on my lawnmower. I will not get off the lawnmower. I will not pick up sticks. How bad is that for the blades?
Yeah, it's just gonna. You would be surprised. Little twigs, these blades on these big machines are heavy duty, and they'll chop them up to nothing.
Uh-huh.
But you start hitting some pretty good sized limbs, and you're just gonna right flat out dull that blade.
And and then you don't have a good cut anymore.
That's right.
That might be a problem.
Right back getting them blades sharpened
probably
again.
Part of my problem again. Quit hitting the sticks.
Plus, it's noisy.
Yeah, right. And that's another reason why, especially between your yard and my yard by your house, I'm always blowing in, because I know I'm hitting sticks and stuff. I don't want to break the side. One through the window, crack the siding, or anything like that.
That's another good. Just mentioning that is another good thing, that when you're looking for a lawn crew to come and work for you, you want to know they're insured, because things happen. You throw a rock through a window. You don't want them to say, "Hey, too bad."
Oh, I never even thought about
that. But they need to be insured. They need to be covered.
So obviously you must be
absolutely insured.
Covered. So if you're mowing my lawn, you broke a big window, and you're like, "Hey, sorry about that. I got the coverage. We're going to take care of it." And
I was doing a business through a rock through a back windshield of a car that was at a restaurant.
Oh,
and that was $400 to replace that windshield, that back glass. But it's part of business. It's part of what happens. You get too close to the fence, and your deck, knocks a plank off that fence. They want it fixed.
Yeah. All right. Well, that does it for our time tonight. Why don't you tell people out there, if they're looking for a great lawn service guy, how do they get a hold of JR's Lawn Service?
They can call my number, my cell phone, at 574-612-4227. And if I'm full, I can direct you to someone that can help you out with what you need. Even if it's more than just your grass cut. We're grass cutters. We're not landscapers. But I can direct you to somebody that could help you out in that area if you need it.
Okay, great. And then don't forget also, we do a secondary run with this program on YouTube. We'll post up the edited version of this up on YouTube, and we'll put his telephone number and email address in there. So if you're interested in Joe's lawn service, or JR's lawn service, give him a call. Anyway, thanks for tuning in with us. Be back with us again next Thursday, 9 o'clock. We'll be here live in the tool shed. And make sure you like us on Facebook, and be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel. Till next time, good night, everybody.